Our story starts with a regular man with an office job named Klein. One day, he's pulled into a strange magical place that looks like an old-timey city. A secret power starts to wake up inside him, and now he has to figure out why he was brought to this new world and if he can ever go home. The story begins in a city called Tingen. A long time ago, a man suddenly wakes up, but he's inside the body of a different person named Klein Moretti. He looks around and gets very scared when he sees blood and a gun in his hand. He looks in a mirror and sees a bullet hole in his forehead that is magically healing all by itself. But what's even weirder is that the face in the mirror isn't his own. Everything starts to get fuzzy as the memories of the person who used to own this body rush into his head. He starts remembering a name that isn't his. As the old memories and new memories mix together, the old soul of Klein fades away, and our main character realizes he has been put into this new body. At the same time, in another part of the city, a special team finds the bodies of two people, Welch and Naya, in their apartment. The leader of the team can tell that someone tried to make it look like they ended their own lives. But he knows what really happened was either a bad magic spell or a person with special powers, called a Beyonder, was used in a bad way, which woke up something evil. The team leader then notices a picture of a man in the room. It's Klein Moretti, who was friends with the people who died. The leader learns that Klein is an orphan who lives with his brother and sister. So, he wonders how is Klein connected to all of this. Speaking of Klein, he is busy learning about the person whose body he is now in. He finds out that the old Klein had just finished school, where he studied history. He was also very good at 2 old languages. Klein reads through the old Klein's journal. In the journal it says that one of the people who died, Welch, came to him a few days ago saying he found a very old notebook. Together they figured out what the first page said and learned it belonged to a family from 1,000 years ago. As they learned more about this family, they found out about magical and spooky things. The old Klein wrote in his journal that everyone, including him, was going to die. The new Klein wonders what could have been so scary to make him write that. But before he can think about it, he hears a woman's voice calling from outside. Klein quickly hides all the blood, but he forgets to hide the gun. Just then the woman walks in. It's Melissa, Klein's younger sister. Melissa sees that her brother is acting weird, but because it's so early in the morning, she doesn't think too much about it. After checking on him, she leaves. Klein quickly cleans up the rest of the blood. Then he looks at the bullet wound in the mirror and sees that it's almost gone. He wonders if this healing power is something he got when he came into this new body. But the biggest question for him is how he got the bullet wound in the first place. Because the old Klein's memories are broken, he can't remember everything. He thinks the old Klein tried to end his own life, maybe because of the dark secrets he found in the old notebook. But what really confuses him is why he's here at all. He remembers that after a long day at his job, he was with his friends, and as a joke he did a silly magic trick to try and get good luck. He starts to think that silly trick is what brought him here. Just then Melissa comes back with breakfast. After she gives him his food, she gets ready for school and tells him to keep trying to find a job. She also asks him to buy some food for dinner, promising to cook him a nice meal as a reward. Once she's gone, Klein decides he needs to run away from this place right away. He knows the old Klein must have done something to get into big trouble. So Klein gets dressed, takes the strange-looking gun, and decides to do the same silly magic trick that brought him here, hoping it will send him back home. He's hungry, so he tries to eat the food Melissa made, but it tastes awful. He goes to a bakery and buys some bread instead. The baker knows him and asks how he's doing. While they're talking, Klein notices a man outside watching him. Klein pretends he doesn't see the man and starts walking down the street. He thinks about how this world is a lot like his old one, but one thing is very strange. A famous person from this world's history, Emperor Roselle Gustav, apparently invented things like tarot cards and games that Klein only knew from his own modern world. This makes Klein think that maybe Emperor Roselle was also sent to this world, just like him. A coin with the Emperor's face on it falls out of Klein's hand. As he bends down to pick it up, a clown shows up and invites him to a circus that night. At that moment, Klein is sure that the man is following him. He walks away quickly and hides inside a tent. He doesn't know it, but it's a fortune teller's tent. The fortune teller sees he's lost and offers to help him find his way. Meanwhile, the man who was following him waits outside for him to come out. Klein doesn't want to be caught, so he plays along with the fortune teller and lets her read his future with tarot cards. She tells him it's free because he's her first customer, but Klein is still careful. He asks her to tell him about his past, present, and future. The lady draws 3 cards. Klein, still not trusting her, turns over the card for his present. It's the Fool card, which means new beginnings. But before she can say more, the real fortune teller walks in and says this woman is just a beast tamer pretending to see the future. Klein still wants to see the other 2 cards. But just as the man who was following him walks in, Klein slips out the back of the tent and the chase begins again. Klein goes back home to do his magic ceremony. He puts 4 loaves of bread in the 4 corners of the room as an offering. Then he stands in the middle and starts chanting. To his surprise, the magic works and papers start flying all around the room. But Klein is very sad, because it doesn't send him back to his old life. Just as he's about to give up, a sharp pain hits his head and a dark red light enters his body. It sends him to a strange, dark, foggy place that feels very dangerous. Suddenly, a woman and a man appear in front of Klein in this foggy place. Klein wonders if he accidentally brought them here with his magic. The woman asks Klein if he is the owner of this place, calling it a divine realm, which is like a god's home. Klein doesn't answer because he has no idea where he is. He thinks a god's home should have a special chair or a throne. Just by thinking of a throne, one appears. The man gets worried and asks Klein to explain what is going on and who he is. This question makes Klein wonder, who is he? Is he the man from his old life, or is he now Klein Moretti? He sits on the throne that appeared and thinks very hard. Then he answers that he is the fool, remembering the tarot card. Klein then pretends to be a very powerful being to scare the man and the woman. He tells them he is just testing out his new magical place. The woman, now a little scared, politely asks Klein to let her go. The man is still being careful. The woman thinks this whole thing is very strange and believes Klein must be a beyonder, one of those people with special powers. She asks him to teach her how to become one too. Klein has no idea what a beyonder is. Still pretending to know everything, he tells the woman that the man next to her can answer that small question. The man, who is still wondering how Mr. Fool brought them here, answers her question. He tells her that to become a beyonder she must first join one of the churches in the kingdom. Only then might she have a small chance, because there are very few beyonders, and they spend their lives fighting against dark and dangerous things. The woman doesn't want to be told what to do by the church. So, the man suggests she could meet with the royal family, since she seems to be a noble lady, but the woman doesn't like that idea either. So the man offers another choice. He says he has 2 magic potions that can give people special powers. While they are talking, Klein starts to understand that maybe he is also a beyonder with a different kind of power. Meanwhile, the woman makes a deal with the man to help her get powers. Now that she is done, she politely asks Klein to let them leave and maybe invite them again. The man praises Klein for having powers that are hard to understand. Klein isn't sure if he should invite them again because if he does, they might find out his secret. But he also wants to explore this strange place to find a way to go home. So he agrees to meet again and tells them to come back next Monday at 3 p.m. The woman realizes they haven't told each other their names. She doesn't want to give her real name, so she suggests they use code names. At that moment, someone knocks on Klein's real door in his real room and it gives him a big headache. The woman doesn't notice and calls herself Justice. The man calls himself the Hanged Man. And Klein says he is the fool and excitedly says that they are now all part of a secret tarot club. Anyway, Klein ends the meeting with his new powers. As the foggy place disappears, the Hanged Man is back on his ship in a stormy sea, and Justice is back in her room. Klein wakes up too, just in time to hear the police at his door telling him to open up. With nowhere to run, Klein quickly hides the blood and the gun, then opens the door. He recognizes the man who was following him earlier. Klein accuses the man of following him, but the man explains he was just trying to protect him. He introduces himself as Leonard Mitchell, the person in charge of investigating the deaths of Welch and Naya. He is with his partner Dunn Smith, who seems to have special powers because his eyes change color. They tell Klein that Welch and Naya ended their own lives, but Klein knows they were really taken over by an evil spirit. Without Klein seeing, Leonard looks through his things and finds the journal where Klein wrote about his own death. Klein pretends he doesn't know how it got there and says he has lost his memory of the past few days. Dunn says that Klein went to Welch's house a few days ago, and since then Welch's gun has been missing. He finds it funny that Klein is now saying he can't remember anything. Dunn guesses the gun is probably in the room. Klein gives up and says he has the gun. He also tells the truth that he woke up at his desk after trying to end his own life and has lost a lot of memories since then. Dunn realizes Klein is telling the truth because it all makes sense with what he already suspected, but he won't let Klein go until he does a special mind check, which might also help him get his memories back. As they are about to take Klein to their car, a little kid is being chased by a man for stealing. Dunn stops the kid, but the kid fights back and makes a lot of noise. Klein uses this chance to escape. He doesn't want them to find out his real identity from the mind check. While he's running, some water splashes on him. Suddenly, time and space freeze. Klein knows a beyonder is doing this because everything around him starts to look weird and twisted. Klein looks for a way to escape and runs right into a carriage. He doesn't know that the beyonder led him there. He climbs in. Soon he feels that something is wrong and asks the driver to stop, but the driver doesn't. The driver shows himself to be Dunn, who tells Klein they are going to Welch's house, where the bad thing happened. Just then, Klein wakes up, thinking it was all a bad dream. Or was it? The door to his room opens, and Dunn is standing there. This time, he greets Klein properly, and Klein understands that Dunn is a Beyonder who was in his dreams. Dunn says that Beyonder's powers get stronger at night. Then, by using his powers to bend space, they are suddenly flying in the sky, where another woman Beyonder appears and makes Klein fall asleep. In his dream, Klein sees his parents from his old life. The woman Beyonder is there too, watching him to find out his secrets. Klein quickly takes control of his own mind and erases the memory of his parents from the dream. This makes the woman Beyonder very angry. She demands that Klein tell her where he hid the Antigonus family's notebook and what really happened at Welch's house that night. Klein is now very scared and says he doesn't know. In his fear, he makes a gun appear and shoots himself. When he dies in the dream world breaks apart. He realizes that the woman Beyonder was doing the mind check to see if he was telling the truth. Now that she knows he was, Dunn agrees to let Klein go, but he warns him that because the Antigonus family's notebook is still missing, Klein's life is in danger. They don't have time to protect him all the time, so they suggest he join their team, the Nighthawks, and become a Beyonder like them. The next morning, Klein goes to a pub to talk more about the offer with a man named Wright, just as Dunn told him to. When he walks into the pub, he sees a wild scene. People are watching a fight between a bunch of rats and a dog. The people watching also start fighting with each other. They get mad when they see a clean-looking kid like Klein in a messy place like this. The bartender Wright sees Klein and thinks he looks suspicious, so he tells him to explain why he's there. When Klein says that Dunn Smith sent him, Wright leads him to a small room behind the bar. It turns out to be an elevator that goes underground to the Nighthawks' secret base, which is hidden to look like a normal security company. There, in a fancy hall, is a receptionist named Roseanne. Klein walks up to her, and when she sees a new person, she remembers that her captain said someone new would be coming. So she opens another secret door. Leonard comes out, but he just smiles at Klein and leaves. Klein goes into the secret room, which leads to some stairs where he meets a woman named Royale. She doesn't pay any attention to him and just walks away. Anyway, Roseanne keeps showing Klein around the place. They see another Beyonder named Fry, who is doing an experiment. They keep walking, and Roseanne introduces Klein to another new person named Kenley, who joined the Nighthawks just 6 months ago. She is supposed to be taking Klein to meet the captain, but she doesn't want to see him because she says he scares her, even though she also says he's a kind person. So she asks Klein to walk the rest of the way by himself. He doesn't mind and finds himself in a big room that looks like a secret church. A door opens on the left, leading to the captain's room. The captain is Dunn Smith. When he sees Klein, Dunn figures he has made up his mind. He gives Klein some papers to sign. Once Klein signs them, he is officially a member of the Nighthawks. Dunn explains that the Nighthawks work for the Church of the Evernight Goddess, and their job is to deal with magical problems, like what happened to Welch and Naya. Dunn shakes Klein's hand, welcoming him to the team. Klein is very happy and calls Dunn his captain, thanking him for the chance. Dunn says that Nighthawks sometimes lose control of their powers, and asks Klein to show respect to those who have died because of it. Klein puts a candle on the graves in a special room to show his respect. After that, Dunn tells Klein the story of how the world was made. The story says that God made everything. He used his eyes to make the sun and the red moon. His body became the land and the stars, his hair became birds, and his ears became wolves. The main point is that since everything came from God, it's possible to get power by making potions with magical things. This opens up paths to become a Beyonder. Dunn says there are 22 different kinds of powers. His church can help people get 4 of these powers by using special potions. Dunn wants Klein to become a seer, which is a type of Beyonder who can see things others can't. But first he tells Klein to meet a man named Old Neil in the magic room. So Klein goes there. Old Neil is like a kind old grandpa. He asks Klein to help him put some papers in order. The old man seems to know a lot about Klein, even that he is good at old languages. Old Neil tells Klein that he is on the right path to becoming a smart researcher, and encourages him to keep learning. He says that one day Klein will be able to read the secret notebooks that Old Neil has. These notebooks belonged to Emperor Roselle and went missing after he died. Neil has read some of them and found out that the Emperor made up special symbols that have mysterious powers. He thinks some of them stand for numbers. Klein looks at the notebook and right away knows the language. It's just modern Chinese, the language from his old world. As he reads, he finds out that Emperor Roselle was just writing in a diary about his life in this new world. But the diary isn't just full of happy memories. It also has important messages. One message says, the secret to using potions is to act like it. Klein can't believe he found such helpful information. He keeps reading, hoping to find a way to get back to his home world. As he reads more, he learns that the Emperor once made a bad choice and wrote that he should have picked a different power, like apprentice, seer, or marauder. Klein doesn't really understand what that means. But before he can think about it, old Neil calls his name. Klein says sorry for not paying attention and explains that he was trying to read the diary. This makes the old man laugh, because he thinks it's impossible for someone so young to read it. Anyway, Klein came to ask for advice about which power to choose. But now that he got advice from the Emperor himself, he decides to take the potion for the seer power. The old man makes the potion and Klein drinks it, even though he's a little nervous. He feels it rush through his body, changing him. As the potion starts to work, his vision gets blurry, but with old Neil's help, he stays focused. Following old Neil's instructions, he imagines making something a missile. This makes the ground shake. As Klein starts to lose control, he keeps thinking about modern things like airplanes and astronauts. His magic power starts to leak out, but luckily, he gets it back under control. Old Neil is very relieved that nothing bad happened. Now that it's done, Neil asks if the world looks different to Klein. Klein says yes. Neil explains that Klein now has spirit vision, which lets him see many things that normal people can't. For example, he can now see if old Neil is healthy just by looking at the colors around him. Klein looks at the old man and suddenly sees two giant eyes behind him. When he asks Neil about it, Neil says it's just a magical picture from the ceremony. Anyway, Klein gets a bad headache. He's not used to spirit vision, so Neil tells him to turn it off by tapping twice on his forehead between his eyebrows. Now that he feels normal again, Neil tells him more about his new powers. He can now use his magic for telling the future and doing all kinds of magic ceremonies. After that, Klein goes back to Dunn's office. Dunn congratulates him, but also warns him not to go looking for trouble just because he has special powers now. Klein remembers this, then asks Dunn what his job will be. Dunn explains that for the first 3 weeks, Klein will just be a helper before he officially becomes a Nighthawk. Dunn even gives Klein his first month's pay early. Klein is very excited to get so much money because now he won't be poor anymore. Anyway, Dunn tells Klein to buy a walking stick and then gives him a daily job to walk around the house where Welch died, hoping it will help him remember things and find the lost notebook. On his first day, Klein does what he's told until someone walks up to him. It's Leonard, and he wants Klein's help to find a kidnapped kid named Elliot. The Nighthawks usually only deal with magical problems, but since they pretend to be a security company, they have to help with things like this too. And since Klein is now a seer who can see things, Leonard gives him the kid's clothes to help find him. Klein uses his seer powers and his new walking stick like a magic wand. He finds the area where Elliot is on his very first try. The carriage goes in the direction Klein pointed. They arrive at a big house exactly where Klein sensed the kid's magic energy. Klein goes into the house and uses his powers again. He sees that in a room at the back, two kidnappers are talking while the kids sit quietly in a corner. Leonard goes in first, breaks down the door, and easily beats the bad guys. Then Klein goes to free the kid, but that's when he sees a magic feather fall on the kidnappers, and they turn into scary monsters. It's just another normal day for Leonard. He beats the monsters too. As the weak monsters try to escape, Klein uses his spirit vision again. He sees that one of the monsters has now turned into a giant beast. Thinking fast, Klein shoots his gun, but the bullet doesn't do anything, probably because it's the first time he's ever really used a gun. Leonard gets it, so he steps in and fights the monster himself. He traps it in a special magic place filled with rose petals, and the monster turns into petals and disappears. Suddenly, Klein remembers a little piece of a memory. He realizes the old Klein had been to this house before, but he doesn't tell Leonard. After they return the kid to his father, Leonard looks at the monster's remains and realizes the kidnappers were Beyonders too, but they couldn't control their powers. That's why the evil spirits could take them over. Leonard wonders how they got the potions. Still, the job is done, and Klein gets ready to leave, just as Leonard learns from a secret helper that Klein was acting strange earlier. Klein goes home, but as he's about to open his door, he suddenly finds himself in the house across the street from the kidnapper's building. He hears a noise from a room far away. When he goes in, he finds his notebook open to a page that says, "Everyone will die, including me." The pages and the building disappear, and Klein finds himself standing on the Fool Tarot card. It was just a bad dream. Klein is already in his room, but he's sure the dream means something. So he decides to go to the house from his dream, hoping to find clues about the lost notebook. Meanwhile, at the Nighthawk's base, Dunn is questioning a man. By magically looking into the man's memories, Dunn finds out that this man once had the Antigonus family's notebook. Dunn looks at the man's neck and sees a tattoo that belongs to a secret group called the Secret Order. This makes Dunn realize that this man is the reason the notebook got sold on the black market. Apparently, this man was following Klein for the past few days. which means the secret order wants the notebook. Leonard thinks the group will send more people after Klein, because they can't let such a bad group get the notebook. They have to find it first. Another officer comes in and tells Dunn that Klein has found a clue. Klein brings everyone to the house from his dream. They find the body of an old lady that has been there for a long time. They search the house very carefully, but they don't find any clues about the notebook. Their only clue is the dead lady, so they decide to learn more about her. Dunn finds out that the dead lady's son, Ray, has been missing for a few days. Leonard gives Klein a picture of Ray, and Klein uses his powers to try and find where he is. But his walking stick, instead of pointing to where Ray is, goes crazy and almost hits Klein. Dunn realizes that some other powerful magic is blocking Klein's powers. The Nighthawks go back to their base. Klein stands in front of a big spooky gate called the Chinese Gate. No one knows where it leads. Dunn's office is right next to it, so Dunn comes out to talk to Klein. He says some comforting words because he sees how worried Klein is. Dunn compliments Klein on his nice suit and gives him a special pendulum to help with his future telling magic. Dunn then tells Klein that he talked to the main church, and they have allowed them to use a very powerful magic item to help find Ray. This item is a special Beyonder artifact. Because these kinds of items are so dangerous, they are kept locked behind the Chinese Gate. Two men Beyonders named Earl and Bauer, and a woman Beyonder named Daly, who came from another city, are here to bring the artifact. Klein recognizes Daly as the woman who did the mind check on him, and he's happy to see someone he knows. Dunn sees the artifact the church gave them, and when he sees its name, 2 Mito 049, he gets very worried. It seems that using this artifact is extremely dangerous, because it gets very angry if it senses anything related to the antagonist family. Earl thinks they'll be fine and tells everyone to start the magic ceremony to open it. To open the sealed artifact, everyone does a silly hand dance over and over. Klein thinks it's weird and wonders why they have to cheer up an artifact, but he does the dance too. The sealed artifact opens and a little clown puppet, the size of a hand, comes out. It right away sees that the weakest person here is Klein, so it tries to take control of him, but luckily Leonard saves him from being choked. Daly says that the puppet likes Klein and that's why it's going after him. But Dunn thinks the puppet is only trying to get near Klein because it senses the antagonist family's magic on him from when he touched the notebook. Klein keeps running away from the puppet and it follows him even more. Dunn tells Klein not to worry because if the magic fails, the worst that can happen is the puppet will take control of people who are very close to it. Klein asks what would happen if the puppet took control of everyone here, and Earl says that's very unlikely. Anyway, Klein keeps running and throws Ray's coat on the ground. When the puppet sees it, it goes completely crazy. This makes Dunn realize that Ray might be a descendant of the antagonist family. Earl quickly puts the puppet back in its box and then starts to track where Ray is. They go out into the streets, still doing their hand-waving chant. Klein thinks he has never been so embarrassed in public. They get in a carriage, and the artifact leads them to a big warehouse at the docks. Inside, Ray is doing a dark magic ceremony. He has the notebook in front of him. When the ceremony is finished, his insides come out of his body and pull the notebook inside him, turning him into a horrible monster. A man with clown makeup, who is part of the secret order, shows up first. He senses that the Nighthawks are almost there, so he decides to make things a little more fun. Soon after, the Nighthawks arrive. Klein uses the pendulum Dunn gave him and senses that there is great danger inside the warehouse. A scary feeling starts coming out of the warehouse. It scares the horses so much that they run away, leaving the poor Nighthawks with no choice but to walk all the way home when they are done. But focusing on what's happening now, all of them get ready for a fight. A giant Ray bursts out of the warehouse. He looks like he hasn't been outside or eaten anything healthy in years, just like some of you guys. Ray sees the artifact box in Earl's hand and it makes him so angry that he starts running towards it. Since Klein is the only one who can't fight, Dunn tells him to stay back. Dunn then uses his powers and attacks the monster. Leonard uses his powers too and ties Ray up with vines. Daly tries to finish him off by drowning him in a magic ocean, but her magic doesn't work and Ray gets even bigger and stronger. Dunn realizes that it's the notebook that's controlling Ray. He asks Daly to find a weakness. Daly finds one in seconds and asks Dunn to hold Ray still for 3 seconds so she can hit his weak spot. Dunn traps Ray with a lot of sharp spikes, but that makes the notebook go even crazier. It bursts out of Ray and hits Dunn with a spike right in his heart. Klein gets very scared for his life as more spikes attack the other Nighthawks. One spike hits the box with the puppet inside. As the box falls to the ground, Earl tells his friend to guard it and goes to fight the notebook himself, charging at it with his sword. But his attack does nothing, and he is also beaten in a counterattack. Seeing his friends getting hurt, Dunn tries desperately to get free, but he is stuck to the wall by the spike and can't do anything. Klein feels helpless too, so he tries to attack Ray himself using his secret gray mist power, the one that let him go to the other foggy place. His attack with 2 cards works, and it slows Ray down. This gives Daly enough time to use her special move. Her magic hands rip the monster's body apart and the monster explodes, but Daly gets very hurt too. Dunn rushes to her, and seeing that she's unconscious, he gives her a healing potion. Klein, on the other hand, hears the notebook whispering to him and is pulled towards it without realizing it. But just as he picks it up, the man from the secret order makes his move. As he tries to attack Klein, Dunn shoots him. But it was just a fake ghost, and the real man is still hiding. Klein tried to protect himself, puts the notebook inside his suit, and focuses on the clown-faced man. As the clown man shows his face, Klein recognizes him as the guy who invited him to the circus on his first day in this world. The clown man keeps using his fake ghosts, and based on how well he dodges, he seems to be a much stronger Beyonder than everyone else. While the clown man is playing around, Klein, from far away, tries to guess where he will move next. Once he figures it out, he shoots his gun. Surprisingly, the clown man gets hit right in the stomach. Sadly for Klein, it was just a lucky shot, and none of his next shots work. The clown man uses his powers and makes all the Nighthawks think he is attacking Klein. This distracts them long enough that they forget to protect the artifact. The clown man then kicks the box into the air. When it lands, a little opening appears and the puppet gets out. In a fit of rage, the puppet stops time itself and takes control of all the Nighthawks. Now all the Nighthawks are tied up like puppets, and the puppet is the one controlling them. Normally this would be the end for all the side characters. But because Klein is in this mess too, he tries something desperate. He wakes up his outside power, the mysterious gray mist, by doing the luck enhancement ceremony in very slow motion, the same one that brought him to this world. As the ceremony is finished, Klein finds himself in his mysterious foggy place again. He's happy that it worked because he can finally breathe. Anyway, Klein can't stay here for too long because his real body is still in that other world and is being controlled by the puppet. But before he goes back, he has to figure out how to fight the puppet. Using his future-telling powers, he makes a magic spell that will help him get back to the real world safely. When he returns, he finds that he is free from the puppet's control. The clown man claps for Klein's success and says that he liked him ever since the day they met. In any case, the clown man wants to make a deal with Klein. He tells him that if he gives him the notebook, he will free everyone from the puppet's control. He also offers to answer any of Klein's questions, saying that he used to be a seer himself. Klein doesn't know what to say. The gray mist has already freed him, so he wonders why a former seer didn't see that. Maybe the gray mist itself messed with the clown man's future telling. The clown man tells Klein about the next level of power for a seer. When Klein hears what it is, he is very scared. Because Klein didn't agree to the deal, the clown man slowly tries to take the notebook from him. But then Klein shows that he can move and attacks him. The clown man moves away by instinct, but he gets caught by the puppet. Now that the clown man is stuck and Klein is free, Klein easily finishes him off with a shot to the neck and then a shot to the head. He has defeated a very powerful member of the secret order all by himself. Or has he? The clown man gets up and keeps saying the word Hornesses over and over before falling down again. Klein can't help but wonder what this word means. He says that he's been hearing this word in whispers ever since he came to this world. Anyway, he closes the opening on the box, sealing the puppet artifact again and freeing everyone from its control. Leonard walks up to Klein and whispers that he saw everything Klein did when time was frozen. But he doesn't praise Klein for being special. Instead, he acts like he's the special one, saying that he himself is special in other ways. Klein can't believe how much this guy loves himself. In any case, he and the others take the notebook back to the Nighthawks base. They seal it inside a mysterious room behind the Chanis gate. Dunn knows Klein wants to read the notebook, so he promises Klein that he can read it after the main church has dealt with it. Dunn then thanks Klein for stopping a big disaster and beating a member of the secret order. He promises to tell the main church about what Klein did. Anyway, the two of them walk down a hallway. Klein passes by Fry's room, where they are studying the clown man's dead body. Seeing the body makes Klein feel guilty because this is the first time he has killed someone. Dunn comforts him, telling him that he actually saved many lives by killing that one person, and he should be proud, not guilty. Klein feels better after hearing Dunn's words. But before they move on, Klein asks Dunn about the 8th level of power for a seer, saying he learned what it is. Klein tells him that the clown man said the 8th level is called Clown. I have no idea what this means, because the show kept it very secret. But what I do know is that the 1st level is the highest, like a god, and the 9th is the lowest. So yeah, the 8th level is pretty low. The next morning, as Errol is about to leave with the artifact, he asks Klein how he managed to beat a level 7 member of the Secret Order when he is only a level 9 seer. Klein lies and says that the goddess saved him from being controlled by the puppet. The clown man didn't realize that, and Klein got a lucky shot and beat him. Errol is still very impressed and says he has never seen such a great seer before. He wishes Klein good luck for the future. After saying goodbye to Errol and his friends, Klein leaves. He is now focused on the word hornesis that he keeps hearing in his mind. To learn more about this word, he visits the old Klein's history teacher, Azik Egil, at the university. He asks him if the words Antigonus and hornesis are connected in history. Azik says he has no idea. So Klein leaves, not knowing that an evil spirit possessing his teacher heard everything. Somewhere else, a mysterious person called Lord Oracle is threatening his student. He says he will tear the student's soul apart for losing the Antigonus family's notebook. The student defends himself, saying he only gave the book to Welch and Naya, calling them lambs because they were just regular people. He thought they would study it and find new things. He didn't know the book would be lost. The student promises he didn't betray their group, the Aurora Order. Lord Oracle doesn't care about his excuses because his precious notebook is now with the Nighthawks. So he punishes the student by making him eat his own 2 fingers. The student still begs for his life. He blames everything on Klein and promises Lord Oracle that he will find the other lamb that he failed to kill. This means that Welch and Naya didn't end their own lives. He killed them for messing with the notebook. The student is sure that Klein has found out something new and promises Lord Oracle that he will deal with Klein and come back with the notebook's secrets. Lord Oracle calms down and lets him live, but warns him that this is his last chance. Meanwhile, Klein visits old Neil, who wants to teach him magic ceremonies today. Neil shows him how to do it and warns Klein to never talk to unknown spirits, because that will lead to death. But Klein has been using the luck enhancement ceremony, and has been talking to an unknown power that gives him the gray mist. Anyway, he keeps watching as Neil tries to talk to the goddess through prayers, asking her to give him 30 pounds. After doing the ceremony, Neil walks out into the street with Klein, and guess what? They find a wallet with a lot of cash. The old man says the goddess gave him the money, but Klein still thinks it's just a coincidence. A man in a carriage stops and says the wallet is his. Neil gives it back because the symbol on the man's carriage matches the one on the wallet. The man thanks Neil for being honest, and gives him 30 pounds as a reward. Klein can't believe it and starts to think that praying to the goddess through the ceremony might actually work. After this lesson from Neil, Klein is walking around the city when a girl named Angelica, who works at a divination club, walks up to him. She gives him a flyer and asks if he's interested in telling the future. Klein's job is basically telling the future because he's a seer, but he still goes into the club to see what it's all about. A fortune teller named Glasses uses tarot cards to answer Klein's question about a place he wants to go back to. According to Glasses, Klein can't go back to that place now, but maybe he can in the future. It's not a very clear answer, but Klein is thankful and pays him. Glasses starts coughing, which makes Klein think he's sick. So, Klein uses his spirit vision, and sees that Glasses has a problem with his lungs. He tells Glasses to go to a doctor soon. Glasses asks Klein how he knew he was sick, and Klein proudly says that he is a seer. He wants to act like a real seer so his magic potions will work better. So, he joins the divination club. The receptionist tells him that her boss, Vincent, who is the best fortune teller in the club, has heard that Klein is a very good seer. It turns out that Vincent is teaching a class about telling the future with mirrors right now. Klein gets interested and decides to take a look. In the class, Vincent is telling his students that mirrors are doors to the spirit world. He says that if you make even a small mistake when telling the future with a mirror, something terrible can happen. Vincent says that mirror divination is also a magic ceremony where you use special prayers to the 7 main gods. Klein uses his spirit vision to see if they are doing it safely, and everything looks normal, but he still feels like something is wrong. Vincent gives a box to one of his female students. When she leaves, Klein realizes that something is wrong with that box. Vincent notices Klein and asks him what he's doing here. Klein explains that he just joined the club and is a seer. Vincent can tell from his own future telling that something deep inside Klein's soul brought him here. That something is hope, but this same hope is making Klein confused and has almost made him want to die. This hope, of course, is about going back to his home world. Klein is amazed at how good Vincent is at telling the future. Klein asks Vincent if there is a way for him to solve his problem. Vincent tells him 2 words, gathering and family. Klein wonders what this means. He thanks Vincent and leaves the class. Then we see that Vincent is missing 2 fingers. This means he is the same student who is trying to kill Klein for Lord Oracle. Back at home, Klein is studying his powers. He's trying to change his gray mist powers so he can go home. He writes a magic ceremony that will call out to him. Suddenly he hears a clanking sound outside, like a monster moving. He opens the door but sees that it's just his sister Melissa, playing with a toy turtle she made. That's where the sound was coming from. Sadly, Klein doesn't have time to play with his sister anymore. He tells her he has to get back to work. Melissa understands that her brother is very busy now that he has a job, but she still wants to spend some time with him. She makes him promise to go with her to her friend's birthday party next Sunday. Klein agrees because Vincent told him to focus on family and gatherings. Speaking of gatherings, he decides to have one in his secret foggy place. He calls Justice and the Hanged Man to him, by calling out to their stars. This time, Klein uses his spirit vision and sees that while the Hanged Man's aura is like a stormy sea, Justice's aura is as calm as a lake. Klein can also see that Justice has become a Beyonder because she has a symbol of a giant dragon behind her. This means she has taken the spectator power, while the Hanged Man has taken the sailor power. Klein looks at his own symbol with his spirit vision, and sees that it's an eye with no pupil, which means secrecy. There are also twisted lines under the eye that mean change, but he doesn't know yet why the lines are all mixed up. For now, he focuses on talking to his two guests. He welcomes them to his place and tells them to feel free to talk. Justice wants Klein to answer 3 questions. Her first question is, what should I do as a spectator? Since this is a very simple question, which to be honest, Klein probably doesn't know the answer to, the Hanged Man answers for him. He says that a spectator must always watch and stay away from everyone else while watching them very carefully. That's how a spectator understands what people are really thinking and finds small clues. The Hanged Man also says she must learn to use the potions and find the secret meaning of the potions' names to lower the risk of losing control of her powers. But Klein stops the Hanged Man. He learned from the Emperor's diary that you shouldn't just learn to use potions. You should focus on digesting them, because a lot of the potion stays inside you. He also says they shouldn't try to find the meaning of the potion's name. Instead, they should act like the name, because that's the secret. The Hanged Man is surprised and realizes this might be true. He stands up and thanks Klein for such a helpful idea. Anyway, Justice asks her second question. She asks what would happen if an animal drank a potion. From the look on her face, Klein knows right away that she must have given a potion to an animal. And it turns out it was her dog. The Hanged Man answers for Klein again. He says the animal will either die right away, turn into a monster, or if neither of those happens, it will become a special magical creature. It seems the dog didn't die or turn into a monster, so Justice is happy that everything is okay. She asks her third question. First, she tells Klein that the people in her city, who are mostly royalty and rich people, are trying to make things better. She doesn't give too many details because she doesn't want to reveal who she is, but she almost says that she is from the royal family. Anyway, the leaders in her city are not very smart, and she wants to find new people to help. She asks Klein how she can find people she can trust. Klein gives her a simple idea. He tells her to have a fair test that is open to everyone, even poor people. The person who wins the test will get to work for the kingdom and its people. Since Klein has figured out that Justice is from a royal family, he gives her the job of finding the rest of Emperor Rosel's secret diaries. The Hanged Man is shocked. He realizes that the very hard-to-read texts are actually diaries, and is even more curious, figuring out that the mysterious man here can read them. Klein also tells both of them to try a magic ceremony next Sunday and pray for good dreams. If it works, they can change what they wish for. Justice asks what prayer they should say. Klein tells them to say, "The fool that doesn't belong to this time. You are the mysterious ruler of the gray mist. You are the king of yellow and black who brings good luck." This means Klein is asking them to pray to him. This makes both of them think that Klein is as powerful as the 7 main gods, and is a scary person who should be feared and worshipped. Anyway, the two of them leave and Klein comes back to the real world. He looks out the window and sees that his brother Benson has come to visit. They spend a good amount of time together. On Sunday, the 3 of them go to Selena's house for her birthday dinner. When Selena comes out to hug her friend Melissa, Klein recognizes her as the girl from the club with the box that felt weird. Selena's friend from the divination club, Elizabeth, is also here. As they start to celebrate, Klein moves on. Suddenly he feels someone praying to him and realizes it's the Hanged Man, who started the magic ceremony as he was told. Later at the party, Elizabeth comes up to Klein and whispers to him playfully that she hasn't told Melissa that he is secretly a seer. Melissa sees Klein talking to Elizabeth, so she comes over. At first she agrees that both Klein and Benson should use this chance to find a wife, but she is not happy that Klein is trying to talk to someone as young as Elizabeth. It's a total misunderstanding. After the birthday party, Selena is with her 2 friends, Melissa and Elizabeth. She decides to open her presents. One is from Vincent. It's a high-level magic mirror. She says the spell Vincent taught her without knowing what it will do. This makes an altar in Vincent's house turn on. Vincent laughs like a madman because he is now sure that his plan will work and he will beat Klein. Speaking of Klein, he feels danger coming from Selena's room. So he goes to her room and peeks in. He sees the three girls just doing a simple mirror divination, like asking the mirror when they will meet their true love. But using his spirit vision, Klein realizes that the mirror is actually trying to possess Selena. He doesn't have time to call Dunn or the other Nighthawks. So he decides to borrow the power of the Evernight goddess by using the magic ceremony that old Neil taught him. While he gets ready to do the ceremony, Selena gets possessed by an evil spirit. Before she can hurt her two friends, Klein comes in and puts her to sleep with one of his skills. Then he quickly starts praying to the Evernight goddess. His prayer is stronger than Vincent's spell. So Vincent, to fight back, takes power from his own master. This makes Selena's possessed body absorb the mirror and go crazy. Klein writes down the prayer for the ceremony, but a few seconds later, he gets caught by Selena's hair, which stretches out and starts to drain his soul. This is actually Vincent controlling Selena. He accuses Klein of being an ungrateful lamb, who instead of accepting the gift of death from his master, got beyond her powers. Vincent thinks he only got those powers by finding something in the Antigonus family's notebook. He demands that Klein tell him what he found. Klein, who doesn't know who is controlling Selena, tries desperately to grab his gun, but he can't, and starts to pass out. As his eyes close, he hears the prayers of Justice, who is praying to him. Her prayers give him the strength to fight back against Vincent. Vincent, who is desperate to win, sacrifices the muscles in his arm to make Selena stronger. Klein, in the meantime, prays to the goddess to free Selena from the evil spirit. Because his prayer is good and pure, the Evernight goddess grants his wish and frees Selena from Vincent's control. Klein checks on Melissa, who is unconscious. He realizes he has to do something to keep his family safe. Meanwhile, Vincent, who has failed again, tries to run for his life. But his master catches up to him first, and as he was warned, rips his soul into little pieces. Klein, in the meantime, tells Dunn about what happened and that he thinks Vincent must be part of some secret group that is after the notebook, since he was the one who gave Selena that mirror. The two of them go to Vincent's house, only to find his dead body. They both realize that someone evil is behind all of this. As Dunn stares at Vincent using his sleepwalker powers, he suddenly finds himself in another world, standing in front of a demonic creature tied up in chains upside down. A few days later, both Klein and Dunn go to a creepy opera show. It's a gathering for the people who survived the Alfalfa ship sinking and their families. According to the opera singer, when the Alfalfa ship sank in a stormy sea because a bad person betrayed everyone and killed many people that night, a warrior named Triss stepped up and saved everyone. He became the kingdom's new hero. The hero Triss comes onto the stage and everyone claps for him. Meanwhile, Dunn is still very shaken from the shock of seeing the evil creature for a short time. Klein has learned that the evil creature could be a being called the True Creator, which groups like the Aurora Order worship. Klein thinks it's a shame that Vincent died. Otherwise, they would have gotten more clues about the Aurora Order. Anyway, the two of them are currently working on this Alfalfa tragedy case. They believe there is something else hidden that no one is talking about. A week ago, a lady came to the Divination Club and wanted Klein to do a future telling about her husband Joyce. It seems that Joyce was on the Alfalfa ship, but the ship never reached its destination. Klein looked at Joyce's picture and used his power as a seer. He saw glimpses of Joyce barely surviving in the sea while the Alfalfa was on fire in the background. After washing up on the shore, Joyce was finally safe. Klein told the Nighthawks about his vision, and they, thinking this was suspicious, started looking for new clues to get to the bottom of the case. It seems that Triss, the so-called hero, rescued Joyce. Both Klein and Dunn have come here to meet him to get more information on this case. But when Triss sees the two Nighthawks, he quickly leaves in his carriage. In any case, both the lady and her husband Joyce also came here to thank Triss. Joyce meets Klein for the first time. As they shake hands, Klein notices that something is bothering Joyce's spirit. Joyce, looking for help, asks for a future telling. Once they are in the divination room, Joyce explains his problem. He tells Klein that ever since the Alfalfa incident, he's been having the same bad dream over and over every single night. Klein, using his powers, enters Joyce's dream world to see what this nightmare is about. He finds that the Alfalfa is on fire. There is a man holding a newborn baby. The man cruelly throws the baby into the sea before jumping in himself. But Joyce stops him from falling, not wanting him to die too. Klein is standing right behind Joyce, and he asks Joyce why he is trying to save that barbarian's life. It turns out that the guy who is trying to kill himself is one of the crew members who betrayed the other crew members of this ship and caused this tragedy. But because he is the last one, Joyce wants to save him to ask him why he did such a terrible thing and what made him do it. Klein tries to understand why Joyce is doing this. He thinks that there is some main bad guy working behind the scenes who controlled everything. That's when Klein feels someone at the very back of the ship staring at them. It's Triss. But the moment Klein turns around, the scene changes and he finds himself in the ruins of an old palace. A giant red eye stares into his soul, and there is a creepy throne to his left that keeps whispering the words Hornassus and Flagrea over and over. The dream ends, and Klein can't help but wonder what Hornassus really means. This word keeps haunting him every time he tries to tell the future. He thinks that some evil god is behind all of this. He also thinks that the old palace might have some clues about why he was sent to this world. Since he has no answers, he hopes his history teacher Azik found something and moves on to deal with the current problem. He tells Dunn about the main bad guy he saw in Joyce's nightmare. He believes that Triss is the main bad guy who tricked the survivors into thinking that he's the hero who saved them. Dunn, however, doesn't accept this as good proof, because it's just a guess and isn't enough to accuse a famous hero. They need real proof. To get it, Dunn decides to get help from the mandated Punishers and the Machinery Hivemind. Speaking of the hero, he's having the time of his life, sleeping with two beautiful women. Someone interrupts his sweet dreams though. It's a woman with the shadow of a spider. She asks Triss if he's having fun being worshipped by the victims and their families. Triss, in reply, proudly says that making husbands kill each other and then taking advantage of their widows has been a very fun experience. We find out that Triss is a level 8 instigator, which explains how he made the whole crew fight each other. Anyway, Triss thinks that he has done a great job and asks the cloaked lady to promote him to the next level. She agrees to do it but asks him to complete one more task first. According to the lady, a Nighthawk is watching one of Triss's helpers, so Triss will have to do this task alone. She pays him for the task early, giving him the formula for the level 7 potion and the name of the potion, which. Back to Klein, he visits old Neil and asks him to help him buy a pair of talismans to protect his brother Benson and his sister Melissa. Neil takes Klein to a secret place hidden under a local bar. It's the underground market of Tingen City. While walking through the market, Klein notices a man who seems crazy but has strong magic waves around him. The crazy man also notices Klein. He walks up to him and smells the scent of death, which makes him bleed from his eyes. Klein gets worried, and Neil says that even though this guy is aware of magic, he is known for talking nonsense. So it's best if Klein ignores him. Klein, however, realizes that the crazy man only said that because Klein is technically dead. At least the original Klein is. Also, this body died once as well. They move on anyway, and Neil leads Klein to the shop that sells talismans. As Klein is in the middle of choosing talismans that the old man will prepare himself later, he notices Triss nearby. So, he starts following Triss, taking Neil with him. That's when he notices that Triss is already being followed by another man. Neil recognizes that man as an informant for the mandated Punishers, which means there are other informants nearby as well. Suddenly there is a chase between Triss and the informant. It causes a lot of chaos in the marketplace, and all of the informants run after Triss. The chase continues to the streets above ground. When Neil and Klein get there, they find that Triss has already dealt with the informants. Standing beside the dead informant is Dunn. Dunn tells Klein about the situation and that the mandated Punishers have already found proof against Triss. He says that Triss is an instigator from the Demoness sect who is very good at making people have evil thoughts and start fights. Klein uses his dowsing rod to find out which way Triss went. At the same time, he asks Dunn more about the Demoness sect. According to Dunn, this sect is an evil group known for causing disasters all over the kingdom, and the top leaders of the sect are all women, which makes sense because they worship a forbidden goddess called the Primordial Demoness. Anyway, Klein and Dunn arrive at the place where Triss is. They go in with other Nighthawk officers. Many women come running out at the same time. One of them runs into Klein, who notices that she has dropped a hat. When he picks it up, he finds it strange that a lady has a man's hat. So, he uses his spirit vision on her as she leaves in her carriage, but he doesn't find anything unusual. Meanwhile, Dunn and his team search the whole building, but they don't find Triss. A few days later, there is still no sign of Triss anywhere, and the search operation ends. Klein, on the other hand, becomes an official Nighthawk. As a result, his pay is increased to £6 a week. He becomes a regular fortune teller at the Divination Club, and also holds a few more meetings for the Tarot Club in his mystery realm. Klein also gives the talismans he and old Neil made together to Benson and Melissa. Since there aren't many cases going on, Klein takes a few magic classes every day, and also starts training in martial arts because he isn't very good at fighting. Just as everything seems to be getting peaceful and quiet again, Leonard comes banging on Klein's door. He tells him that the city police have reported that the number of deaths in the past 2 weeks has increased 5 times. This means that something unusual is going on, even though there have been no reports of any cases related to Beyonders. Leonard gives more details about the deaths. According to the reports, a week ago, over a dozen female factory workers died from lead poisoning. On the same day there was a fire, another man drowned himself because he was very poor, and many other similar cases have happened. How are they all related? Well, most of the people who died were poor workers who were either extremely poor or suffering from a serious illness. Klein feels sorry for them because his own family in this life also suffered from extreme poverty, which led to his mother dying from a disease that couldn't be cured. Since then, Klein's big brother worked very hard to protect little Klein and Melissa. This is where our video comes to an end. Subscribe for more anime recaps.